This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
All right, good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goins. I'm the assistant minister here, and I am really glad to be here on this cool morning. And I welcome all of you to our spiritual home. And welcome everybody online as well. So I went away last weekend to visit my sister, and a friend of mine told me this a long time ago. And this is what my family is like. We get together and just imagine a bunch of little puppies playing together, right? And they're all having a good time, and all of a sudden one bites the other one, and then they start fighting and getting all mad. And then 1 second later, they're all back to normal again. That's my family. We fight, we get back together, we fight, but it's all good. So anyways, but that's not what happens in this spiritual home. We all just get along great, and we support one another. So wonderful. All right, so welcome to our center, and I want to know that we are entering into this holiday season and lots of festivities going on, a lot of activities going on. I want to share some activities with you today. First of all, the Dudes Date. So we have a Dudes Date, which is December the 10th. We are going to go play putt-putt golf, but we're going to meet for lunch before. So if you're a dude, we play putt-putt golf. That's what the dudes do. And but anyways, we're going to meet at 12 noon on December the 10th, and then after lunch we're going to go play putt-putt golf. If you're interested, it's $14. And Karen, quit making fun of me. It's $14, and if and you could see John. He can give you the information, more information about that. Is that, what do you call it? Miniature golf, putt-putt golf, miniature golf. Miniature golf, sorry. Okay, thank you. Projects of Love. So our Projects of Love for this year, we are sponsoring some teens, and we're bringing in water bottles. So next weekend is the last weekend for you to bring in those water bottles so we can give them to those teams and let those teens know that they are loved. So please take some time out this week and go by and pick up a water bottle. You can find them almost anywhere. It's got to be waterproof, so it can go in their bag. Nancy provided some information in the other room, so that way if you could get some further clarification on it. But we're collecting them next week, and Sunday then Nancy will be delivering those. Also next week, there's a lot going on next week. So also next week we have the Winter Art Market. So Karen Izzy's sponsoring the Winter Art Market with a bunch of local artists. So all day Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. This place will be decorated with all kinds of beautiful art from local artists. So please come out, support our local artists, and also do your Christmas shopping. And then after that, on Sunday, we are actually going to be decorating the center after service. So please plan to stay after service on Sunday, December the 4th, because we'll be doing some Christmas decorations and making this place very festive. And then the last item for the announcements is a save the date, which is the December the 21st. So we do our candlelight service, not on Christmas Eve, but we do it the Wednesday before, which is December the 21st. And we would love you to join us in this beautiful experience. So those are all of the announcements, which there are a lot of them because there's a lot going on in our community. So please ensure that you are looking on the website, or if you're not receiving the newsletter, reach out to Cheryl and make sure that she adds you to our newsletter so that way you can keep up with all of the activities. All right, so I'm switching hats now. So I'm taking up a lot of Reverend Karen's time, but I've got a little time on my own now. So it is our final week in Seeding Our Future pledge program, which our theme this year is Unearthing Our Treasures. Everything that we experience in life starts in consciousness. Life is reflecting back to us our dreams, our beliefs, and our decisions. So what is life reflecting back to you right now? So the demonstrations that we have experienced here at our spiritual home started in the consciousness of our board members and the vision of our community that Reverend Karen continues to nurture every Sunday. She offers a new way to look at our life and invites us to expand our consciousness and grow and experience more. We are always seeding our future, and how wonderful it is to have a spiritual home that is not telling us how to live, but supports you and provides you spiritual tools to live the life that you choose. As we bring this program to an end or close this year, our theme is a perfect expression of our community. We continue to unearth our treasures, claim our good, and we expect and claim more love, more creativity, and more abundance. Our last big upgrade, and Reverend Karen told you about this at the beginning of our campaign, is we have collected the money to do the carpet. So I am working right now with the contractors to try to set up time to have them come out and replace our carpet. And so we will have replaced all of our carpet and make this place a beautiful, even more beautiful place. So our collective consciousness has created a container for our building improvements, for fellowship after service, and our Sunday service keeps getting better. So I want to give you a personal example about our experiences and how it starts in consciousness. So about 5 years ago, Reverend Karen and I were discussing the Sunday service and creating a quality experience. So 5 years ago, we planted a seed for a committed musicians that considered our center their spiritual home and partnered with Reverend Karen to create a space for spiritual transformation. 4 years ago, Reverend Karen planted another seed for a Sunday service production team to have a dedicated sound and visual team, a visual team. Our production team and our weekly presence of the Bradford supporting Reverend Karen is creating a space for us to learn, to grow, to have hope, and stay open to the possibilities. So that's a beautiful example. Again, 5 years ago we planted that seed. And the Bradfords are here just about every single Sunday. We have a beautiful sound team that is supporting us. I mean, it's fantastic. So thank you. So your financial pledge is seeding our future. Your consciousness helps create our spiritual place where we feel loved and supported. If you have not completed your pledge card and committed to your spiritual practice and your committed support to our spiritual home, we ask that you consider it today. We have extra pledge cards if you want to fill one out. So we have them up here. We have them at the back there in the bookstore. If you have any questions about, or if you want to talk about tithing, I'm always available. Yes, this is a commitment, but it is one of the best spiritual practice commitments I've ever made. So our goal this year is to collect 40 pledge cards with the pledge amount of $40,000 or more. $80,000 or more. Let's $80,000. Your pledge amount will help us budget and plan for 2023. We are looking to the future, and our community continues to thrive. This is our spiritual home, and we are growing together. Our consciousness continues to expand and grow, and life is moving forward, and we get to co-create the life that we want to experience. We'll be collecting the pledge cards till the end of the year or anytime, but the close of the program ends at the end of December. If you pledge and your financial situation changes during the year, you can always talk with me and we can adjust your pledge amount. This is a spiritual practice that teaches us the law of circulation and grounds us in the spiritual truth of abundance. So you can complete the pledge card today. You can bring in the card and drop it off in the gold box, or you can give it to me or Reverend Karen, or you can even mail it in. So we also ask that you pull a gem out of the bowl in the back of the room. And if you hadn't had a chance to pull one out, please do it today, because we have it back there. We'll probably keep it back there till the end of the year. And then Reverend Karen created that description about each one of those gems. And it's just incredible to see how when you pull one of those gems out, how it's a reflection of your life. At least that's what I experienced when I pulled my gem out. It was perfect for me. So when we are in the flow of life, everything seems connected and we feel supported. So pray for the abundance of your life in our community. Everything we experience in life starts in consciousness. So our goal this year is to collect 40 pledge cards with a pledge amount of $80,000 or more. So please join us in knowing this truth for our community. I want to close with the quote from Albert Einstein, who knew the power of consciousness. And this is what he said: "No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it." And so it is. All right, so this is the end of our pledge program. And again, we invite you to fill out that pledge card and bring it in and drop it off or give it to Reverend Karen and I. So let's move into the service. So I want to start off with saying our vision statement, if you could say that with me. We are a loving, joy-filled community honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the Science of Mind principles. So it is. So just sit back, relax, open up your hearts and minds for the Bradford's beautiful message, or beautiful music, and Reverend Karen's beautiful message. Thank you.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place
within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place
And here in this place that is peace and joy, love, happiness, harmony, health, wealth, wisdom, abundance, clarity, and so much more. That is the place where the divine dwells. It lives and moves and has its being in, through, and as me, in, through, and as each and every one of us. And I know that this day reflects an example, a shining example of that divine energy of happiness and joy, love and peace, wisdom and clarity, compassion and kindness. I know that this day is already a day of exquisite perfection in the mind of the divine. Therefore, it must indeed be made manifest exactly in that manner. I know that Reverend Karen's heart is wide open and the divine moves to her and through her and gives us a message that will lift us and open our hearts and give us the opportunity to see things anew. The Bradford's music, as always, opens our hearts and lifts us and brings us joy, brings us a sense of connection. I know that in this place, the divine abounds in each and every one of us. So I know that this has already begun, that the wisdom of the divine is already here being made manifest. So I release it out into the universe, knowing that the law has already said yes. And so it is. And this reading today is from a section of the Science of Mind textbook called The Indivisible Whole. The answer to every question is within us, because Spirit is within us. Spirit is an indivisible whole. The solution to every problem is within us. The healing of disease is within us. Forgiveness of all sin is within us. The raising of the dead is within us. Heaven is within us. This is why Jesus prayed to this indwelling I am and said, Our Father which art in heaven. And again said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Each of us then represents the whole. How should we feel toward the whole? In the old order, we thought of the whole as sort of a mandatory power, an autocratic government, an arbitrary God, sending some to heaven and some to hell, and all for his glory. Now we are more enlightened and we realize that there could be no such divine being. In the new order, God is more than law or principle. God is the infinite spirit, the limitless consciousness of life, the one infinite person within whom all people live, the one indivisible whole. And Ernest Holmes follows with this prayer. Holy, 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 inner presence great and mighty, inner light that shines divinely, inner life that lives completely, inner joy that smiles serenely, inner peace that flows so deeply, inner calm, untroubled and happy, inner love that gives so freely, inner truth that never fails me, inner power that holds securely, inner eye that sees so clearly, inner ear that hears spirit always, inner voice that speaks supremely, inner good that binds me to thee. Holy, 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 Lord God within me. So allow yourself just a moment to be with that inner divine. And so it is.
Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful. 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 Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. Sing this with me. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Again. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful.
Good morning. I'm grateful to see you this morning. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Let me adjust my clothing here. Whoa, look at Felicia. You look so beautiful. I'm so grateful to feast on the beauty of everybody sitting here this morning. Happy Thanksgiving. And, it's no accident that we put the stewardship program, that we are seeding our future in the month where we celebrate Thanksgiving. We put great thought into that. When I first arrived here, it's like, well, no, we definitely need a stewardship program. When do we want to do it? A lot of churches do it in October, and I said, let's look at Thanksgiving, because that essence of gratitude, when we can really feel it, does something to our being that shifts us. So whenever we're going through something difficult, the starting place is always to look for something to be grateful for. And so I'm grateful to be here today. I'm grateful to see you and all your beautiful faces. Something on the voice today was different. There's something over here that's a little different. I don't know what it is. Oh, it's the hat. It's a new hat. That's what it was. There's a new hat in the house. Woo! Did I hear you say, Kathy, that the hat had one of your duck feathers? That the feather in the hat was from one of your ducks? That's what I wanted to say, yeah. Yeah, there you go. All right, so we got all that. We got some real sweet stuff going on. And I am giving the last talk in our theme of seeding our future. The title of my message today is Seek First the Kingdom. And so it was so interesting to me as I look at the way each talk this month has been a little build to what needed to be said in the next week. What I see is we have had a lot of emphasis on sequence and order. And so this very statement, seek first the kingdom, is again pulling us back to pay attention to what matters most. So we are continuing on this great journey of digging for the hidden treasure within. We have these beautiful chalices of sand with gems in them. And are you trying to say something back there, Reverend? All right. You know, from up here, it looks like a priest collar. Looks like you're wearing a priest collar under your dark shirt. Oh, he's so reverend today. He's very reverent today. So we have been digging for that hidden treasure. We have been exploring in our weekly messages, what is that precious gem inside of us that desires to be revealed and that can be a part of the way we come together to be good stewards on this planet and of course, here in this spiritual community. So This has been a really beautiful time for us to really take that exquisite idea of gratitude and finding that way to resonate that truth of that comes from being thankful and grateful, and allowing that to be what expands our understanding of this beautiful kingdom we're talking about. So to seek first the kingdom is like the highest call we could ever have. I think it's a beautiful way that the master teacher Jesus said that there's something here to be discovered or uncovered or revealed when the followers of Jesus came to him and said, "You speak of this kingdom. Where is this kingdom? Where art thou, kingdom?" And Jesus said, "It's not over there, and it's not over here. It's here. It's right here. The kingdom of God is within." So, this is an interesting conversation, because that's what we've been talking about all month, is discovering that inner kingdom and that thing inside of us that causes us to yearn for the sea, that causes us to know that we have this longing to experience something in this vast sea of life itself, that we are looking to reveal something, as if there is something we don't have, only to discover that it is in us already, that we really do have it already. So it's about that depth of understanding. It's the way that we grow and we age and we accumulate experiences and hopefully some wisdom along the way. And then at some point, we realize that yearning that I've been talking about, I've been saying, let's build something here, let's yearn for the sea together, because then we're going to create this beautiful container that is our spiritual center, and we're going to enhance it even more. And we do that in our togetherness. So it is about the deep calling unto the deep. Do you know that's a scripture that comes from the book of Psalms? We find it in the Hebrew scriptures. In the book of Psalms, the 42nd chapter, there's that passage that speaks about the deep calling unto the deep. And I find that because that's such an important part of the spiritual journey for me, that depth of connection. It's not knowledge as much as it is a knowledge we embody, and that we live through our experiences. But I wanted to see how other people defined what that means. When the deep calls into the deep. So I consulted my great source of wisdom in my office, which would be my search engine. I got on Google and I just started reading all different sorts of people. Now, keep in mind, this is a passage that would come out of Judeo-Christian wisdom. So it's rather Western in the way we've preserved it anyhow. And I came across this fabulous quote that I want to share with you. What does it mean to say the deep unto the deep? The deep calls into the deep. And unfortunately, the passage didn't have a name attached to it, because it was one of those pull downs that they don't tell you where they got the info from. So I'm just going to assume it was Mr. Google, James P. Google, I think. Is that the right thing? Anyhow, this is a beautiful, these are the kinds of words I would like to have said myself. What does it mean to say the deep is calling to the deep? The deep is a place that is so pure that every part of your being is consumed by the presence of God. Every part of your being is consumed by the presence of God. Imagine that you're having that holy moment, an encounter with the divine that's so intimate and personal that nothing else exists. That's the way I hear that. And then he or she goes on to say that it is a deep place where there is perfect communion between your spirit and every dimension of God's presence. That's pretty vast. That's pretty big territory we're talking about. But you know what? It's a beautiful definition of oneness. We talk about oneness so often, and it is a beautiful definition of what we're talking about. I do refer to that connection as communion. I love that in our teaching, we are encouraged to look for that direct encounter with the divine. That comes out of pure mysticism, and every spiritual philosophy has their individual take on mysticism, which is always about that oneness, always about that sort of connectedness of all humanity that's difficult to put into words or even understand intellectually, but it absolutely is an important part of spiritual understanding and spiritual deepening. So we would say that's oneness. And when we're understanding the allness of life or the wholeness, this is where we would connect it. So it is when we have a pure realization, a moment of perfect knowing. And I do like that idea that it is a holy encounter, because that's how it feels to me. It's like I bump into it. But it feels really elusive because you can't stay there. We are a finite being. We are infinite at the core of who we are. And yet, the reality is that we can only stay in that infinite knowing for a brief period of time, because then we have to tend to the business of living in a finite body and in a world that requires certain activities on our part. So it's that perfect knowing. It's that place where you know how we say, the truth is everything is always perfect, whole, and complete. And then you try and intellectualize that, and then you go, but I'm not perfect. This isn't perfect. It keeps slipping off my shoulder. It's like, what a perfect, whole, I don't feel any of that. But we do have moments of embodying those truths. So you can understand it for a tiny little nanosecond in your mind, and you might know that you know that you know. And meanwhile, we live in our life, and we encounter all of our experiences, and we learn through that blessed experience of living that problems come and problems go, and the trick is to not stay focused too long on, how do they say that? Don't pitch a tent, when you encounter hell, don't pitch a tent. You want to move, don't get too comfortable. You want to be able to move on quickly. I loved Reverend Clyde's description of what it's like to be in his family. I love that, Reverend Clyde, because there's some reality and something really important to look at. A healthy family is not defined by never squabbling. That's not a healthy family. That might be a polite family. They're probably practicing a lot of codependence and in ways that work for them, and nobody ever points to the elephant in the middle of the room, But I like that we bump into each other, and it's so common in family encounters, and that's why there's so many comical movies at Christmas time and Thanksgiving that help us try and put a little comedy into the whole art of family gatherings. There are also some grim ones. I stumbled on a grim one accidentally over the weekend, and because we got free HBO over the weekend. You probably did too if you have the same carrier that I do. Don't you wish you knew that on Thursday then? So I want to talk about that. How is it that we can squabble and then a minute later, what did you use as your example, Clyde? A puppy. It was a puppy. Yeah. Then they forget, and then you forget, and you go on, and then you're having fun again, right? And then you bump into each other again. It's like, so there's a rhythm to life in which we can, I like that idea. It must have been in the reading. I think it was by the way, you have to tell me where that, the poem reading you did. I'd like to know that later so I can revisit it. It was lovely. Yeah, there was something about that and that's what we're talking about, that place within, that seeking first the kingdom, revealing that hidden treasure that's yours, that rarest gem. That's where all your gifts are, by the way. All your individualized gifts lie right in that same area, and doing that and included in that. And then Ernest Holmes gave this long list of ways in which we can see it and idealize it. And I really loved that part where he said something about forgiveness, that it's already in there. It's part of the perfection that's already inside. So I want to talk about that. How do we seek first the kingdom? How do we develop this has been our stewardship month. We're planting our seeds for the future. And how do we develop a prosperity consciousness? We spend a month and we build each talk to stimulate the next talk. How do we do that? I skipped a whole page. Well, maybe I'll go back. Well, you almost got out of here really early. Darn, I know. Okay, so, all right, I said that. I recognize the center. Oh, this is a really good point. I'm glad I found that I didn't say this out loud. The reason it's so important to look at this topic of seeking first the kingdom is because when I can train myself to know that, even when I can't always see it, what happens is I become more trained and skilled at recognizing those holy moments when they happen outside of me. And so when you look at acknowledging that the kingdom is already inside of us, that the hidden treasure is already there, the reason it's so important is because as I learn to recognize that in myself, I will then also be able to recognize it in other people as well. That's where we can tap into that forgiveness. That's where we can stay on the path, and we can deal with the things that come up, and we can respond to life instead of just reacting to life in that way. So, so we're right here in the middle of this Thanksgiving weekend. And it's busy. Anybody still got company at home? They're all at home, entertaining their company, right? Who traveled? I know Reverend Clyde traveled, and he's home. Anybody else traveled and back home? So we know that this is a time where people are moving about the country. I wanted to share with you, and this is actually the theme quote that I chose for inspiring me in the writing of the talk. So this comes from Dr. Ernest Holmes. It's found in the Science of Mind textbook. And Dr. Holmes said, when we become conscious of our oneness with universal good, now that adds a little more something to think about. When we become conscious of our oneness with the universal good that's always present, then our beliefs in evil and sin and sickness and limitation, even death, will tend to disappear. Have to be aware of the good that exists on the planet already. And the more that I'm able to put my attention on these higher principles, these eternal truths, the less likely I am to notice the evil and the dark things, the evil, the sickness and limitation. They tend to disappear when we focus our attention in a proper way. So I want to remember this. I want to repeat this often, because in the presence of truth, in the presence of God's love, when I let my hidden treasure within me lead the way in my daily life, then I'm no longer going to just see good and bad. I'm no longer going to let what's true and what's false, what's the truth and what's a lie, I don't let that lead my life. Instead of seeing true and false, I can begin to see whole and partial. Right? Isn't that a much better way of looking at life? So when something is not resonating as your truth, and somebody is standing on the other side of that argument, and they strongly disagree with you, we can know that there's a thread of truth in between that can unite us, because each of us is only seeing a partial of whatever the other person is seeing. So I love that. You're not seeing the whole of it, because nobody is privy to have that posture to see, well, maybe a lizard. Can a lizard see all the way around? Some of those creatures that have moving eyes, right? Well, we don't have that. We only see what has our attention, what's right in front of us. So these are important ideas when we're talking about seeding our future, because seeding our future, if you look at the practical application of seeding the future of a spiritual community, of a church, we have a desire to establish a strong prosperity consciousness within this community, so that strength of well-being is at the core of who we are as a spiritual community. So we want to be conscious of that universal good that Holmes is speaking to. We want to be really involved in unearthing our treasure and revealing that kingdom. And in that way, then when we sit to contemplate our relationship with how can I best support my spiritual community, then you're going to choose at a higher level. And it becomes really more clear to us what we are called to share. So we have a way we financially support that. Like, I shuddered when you slipped and you said $40,000. $80,000 doesn't pay the bills here, right? So when you said 40, I went, no, our goal has to be higher than 40, right? We have to aspire to at least pay the bills, and so that's that's a part of what we do. That's why we set numbers. We put metrics in the conversation, because it's our job. And when we're managing the business of church, one of our jobs is to make sure church will be here next year. So we want to contemplate these things at that higher level, where we're looking at the prosperous nature of life and the prosperous, the way prosperity is about enhancing our well-being. Stephen Covey said, this is a great quote from Stephen Covey: "An abundance mentality springs from internal security. An abundance mentality springs up," right? I love that vision of springy. It springs from an internal security. It is not anything external. So we measure it. We look at it as though it can be measured. But when we remember the source of all our good, when we go back to that hidden treasure and begin to wrap our mind around the way nature provides so beautifully for life, then it broadens our understanding that the source itself is unlimited. And the way that we posture ourselves to be in relationship with the source in every way, in every source, but the deepest source. So what this quote is telling us from Covey, the abundance of mentality springs from internal security. That's real acknowledgement. If you feel secure in that, that's a real true knowing. A knowing that can deepen us in that internal way to know that problems come and problems go. And now I can turn the page. Complete. Now we'll look at the practical side of how do we apply all this. And so how do we seek first the kingdom? How do we develop and really become skilled at recognizing and grooming a consciousness in our individuality of overall well-being? How do we, as Holmes said, how do we minimize, this is where I realized I'd made a mistake because I hadn't read the Holmes quote yet. How do we minimize the fear and eliminate that idea of limitation and sickness and even death, he said, our understanding of death even. So one way and this is my gift to you on Thanksgiving weekend. On Thanksgiving weekend, my gift to you is that there is a way for us to create in our own lives healthy routines. We can build healthy routines, and it can start with the most simple way of beginning your day. And if we do it under the guise of ritual, not having just a good habit, talking about being very intentional in the way that we start our day. What if we could make our the beginning of our day a part of our spiritual practice? I mean, like you're laying in bed from the time you open your eyes. So you've heard me speak about getting a healthy start for every day. It starts as soon as my house. It's as soon as I open my eyes, I notice, what I'm thinking about. I stretch in bed and get my body moving. And before I put my feet on the floor, I tell you this all the time. Before you put your feet on the floor, you begin to affirm the kind of day you want. So I take this. All of this comes from my intimate relationship with Emma Curtis Hopkins, and memorizing this quote from Emma where she said, every night of your life, I use it in the evening before I close my eyes in slumber while God is swelling me with possibility. Those are Emma's words. And I use it in the morning while I'm laying in bed before my feet touch the floor. Imagine that God is swelling you with possibilities. She says, choose what it is you desire to exhibit. What kind of character do you like? Okay, how do I want to be today? What qualities of life can I exhibit? What do I want to? Who do I want to be today? And I choose. And so that's a really important part of how I move through my life, how I start my day, and it starts with a morning ritual. Now, the word ritual, when I looked up the word ritual, it actually has a Sanskrit root, so it's really old. And the Sanskrit literally takes that word ritual before it became English, and it literally translates it as visible order. Visible order, something I can see. So now I am creating in my life, by way of ritual, a spiritual practice that then will create order in my universe that I can visibly see in my life. Okay, so ritual is something you do with great intention that then reorders your life in a way that you can see the greater harmony that you desire to experience in your daily encounters, and we do it with great intention. So think about it, because you already have a routine that and how you wake up in the morning, what you do and what order you do it in. You already got something in place in the way that your life unfolds in a daily way. So imagine your routine. Now, mine is thinking, stretching, and then the third thing I do is that when I do put my feet on the floor, I open the blinds. Now, the way I make that part of my spiritual practice is that I apply the meaning that I'm giving it. So stretching is about opening, right? You sleep, and then you stretch after you've slept. And it's really safe, they say, especially when you're more than a few decades old. It's safe to do that in bed before you do that out of bed, right? So I stretch in bed, and I'm physically moving my body and opening myself in a very physical way, but at the same time, I'm still in bed, and I'm opening my mind, right? I'm opening my mind and I'm choosing the character I desire to exhibit in the day. And then I get out of bed, I put my feet on the floor, and I go and I open a blind and I let in the light. What would happen if every man, woman, and child on the planet started their day by consciously letting in the light? You know, think of those words, let there be light, right? The light is already there. The light is already shining. It's such a good illustration that matches the kingdom of heaven is within, that the treasure is there. It's about our taking action to reveal it. So what will your routine be? What will you name? See, you don't have to change anything. It's likely you don't have to change anything. You might help, but you don't have to. What you can do is you can look at your routine and you can look for the way God is in there, or the way you can put intention by naming it very specifically as a way you are letting in the light. Because you know, you don't have to open the blind, you can turn on a light also. You can flip a switch and turn the light on, and you can be then in the presence of light yet again. When my husband passed, there wasn't much light for quite a while. And I established some healing rituals that were new to me. And something that I began doing, and I shared with you, I've shared this before, but one of the practices I began to participate in on a regular basis was to look for joy, because I didn't feel any joy. And so I made an effort to, it started when before I would go to bed, I would write in my journal, I would think back of everything I had encountered in the day, and I would look for a place where there was joy there. And you know what? Every single day I found joy. You know, it was a strange time, because the grief was heavy, and it clouded my sense of reality. Everything was different. It was the biggest change I've ever been through. And so even the most basic things I had to plan. I made part of a ritual. It was about eating, or paying bills. Everything had to be named ritual in order for me to feel like I could accomplish it. And it was great, wise choice to do that, because over time, what happened was I began to see that in my backyard, the flowers were still blooming. I didn't feel like I was, but the flowers in my yard were blooming. And then eventually I could hear that the birds were still singing. I couldn't hear them for quite a while. But I began to get this bigger and bigger perception of life that it sounds like a terrible paradox, that it would be impossible. It is a contradiction. And it was really difficult for me to reconcile it until I started seeing the flowers and hearing the birds. But what I realized at some point was, no matter how dark my night was, whatever I was going through, that not only are flowers blooming, but you know what? In probably just about every moment, I don't know, mathematically somebody should figure it out for me, babies are being conceived. And somewhere else, babies are being born. This miraculous nature of life is going on no matter what. And so then you start playing with those bigger concepts, and you begin to realize that there is, and this was so complicated for me, but it gave me a sense of normalcy. And when I began to see that even the grief has something beautiful and normal in it, that then became almost like a blanket of security for me, that I felt I could feel God's hands sort of supporting me through those strange, changing times. So look for that. When you're going through something difficult, look for the way God shows up. Have your ritual and consider keeping a ritual of light in your daily spiritual practice. Maybe it's lighting a candle before you meditate. I don't know. You get to figure it out. You can be as creative as you want because it's yours. So it reminds me of a story that I have not told in a long time. It comes from the Talmud. And there's a rabbi who is teaching children. And the rabbi has a question for the kids. The rabbi says to the children, how can you tell when the night ends and the day begins? And there's a young girl in the classroom, and you could see all the children are thinking, and she shoots up her hand and she goes, Rabbi, I know the answer. You can tell when the night ends and the day begins when there's just enough light that you can tell the difference between a sheep and a dog. And the rabbi nods and he says, that's an interesting thought. Does anybody else have a different thought? And so there's a young man, a little boy, who raises his hand. He's a little more cautious because he doesn't want to get it wrong. And he says, Rabbi, I think I know the answer. You can tell when the night ends and the day begins when there's just enough light in the sky, and you can tell the difference between a fig tree and an olive tree. And the rabbi again pauses. And then there's silence for a while until he says this. You can know that the night has ended when you look in the eyes of another human being and you see yourself. When we have those moments of recognizing our oneness, the way that we are created to be connected to each other, when that happens, we have opened something inside of us. We are revealing the kingdom of God. We have fallen into truth. We stumble on a little piece of truth. We fall into it in many ways, like falling into love. And when that happens, then every day, our encounter with day and night, every moment we have connecting to bumping into the light and the dark becomes a dance. And those encounters then can remind us of this relationship, that day always follows night, night always follows day, and day follows night, and the morning always comes again, no matter how dark the night has been. This does not happen once a day, but it happens twice a day. Sunrise, sunset. Sunrise, sunset. You should sing it. I'm going to, you know. I should have asked for that song. That would be a good song. So I wanted to close this morning with a quote from a friend reminded me this week of how much I love this book. This is published by Mary Perron. And it's A Course of Love, and it's from the chapter called Love Is, and these are beautiful words. Knowing the one truth, bumping into the kingdom, allowing your gift to be revealed, right? Knowing the one truth is not about knowing a certain dogma or a set of facts. Those who know the truth do not see themselves as right and others as wrong. Those who know the truth find it for themselves by joining mind and heart. Those who know the truth become beings of love and light. and they see the same loving truth everywhere around them. When we seek first the kingdom, everything else is added. And that's what I plan to say today. In a slightly different order than I expected. Oh, so take a nice deep breath, and we're going to turn within. Move to that place where Spirit abides. Sometimes we call it the secret place of the Most High. For today, we understand seeking first that kingdom within. So we begin to sense the presence of something bigger than we are, not only here in this room or wherever we may be sitting in this moment, but we feel that presence of God, that presence of love within us. There is no place where God could be missing or limited. For that which is perfect and whole and complete, that mind of God is our mind, and we unify with it right now, right here in this very moment. So we feel and sense the love of God within us, and we know again that it truly is this activity of life. It is the movement of all things in our appreciation for the way that everything in the universe fits together, the way that day always follows night and night always follows day, that there is a way in which we are groomed in this experience of life. This thing called life provides everything we need to continue to grow, to seek again every day in a new way. So we breathe in this awareness, in the freshness and the newness of this perfect knowing. We breathe in such a way that we recognize that it is miraculous. It is the kiss of life, the breath of God that has awakened us into these new possibilities. So we do the work that is put before us. We are good stewards of this community, and therefore all of the pieces come together in such a beautiful way that we can see that which is whole. We can recognize the fullness of the presence of God in our lives, here at our center, in the lives of our loved ones. And so we understand that there is a movement of which we participate. We awaken ourselves yet again, and we stretch so that there is a physical movement, but that there is also this way in which we are opening our hearts and our minds so that we can be filled with the Holy Spirit, that we can be blessed with the ability to see every function going on in the world through divine eyes, that we can see the divine wisdom, that we can tap into this greater truth and allow those hidden treasures that each of us brings. We can allow those treasures to be present on this planet through our actions, through our beliefs, through the words we speak and the love we share. So I know that even as the words of this prayer are spoken, there is a healing that is unfolding, because wholeness is indeed revealing itself in greater and greater ways. For this, I am so grateful to know yet again, to remember yet again, that this is how life works, that there is still joy unfolding in our lives no matter what the circumstances look like. And our job is to choose what it is we will pay attention to this day. So I know that we are great stewards for the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living, and I am grateful for the blessings that come in this upcoming year to us and through us. I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, Infinite Spirit, for this refreshed way of viewing life. And I release the words of this prayer gently into the law, knowing indeed it is already done. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Amen.
Grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
All right, thank you, Bradfords. So now is the time to remember the abundance of our lives and the abundance of our community. So let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. Now sing it. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. One more time. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Woo!
All right, feeling good to be alive. So let's close with our affirmation together. So repeat after me. The harmony of life is already within me. I seek to express the qualities of God. And so it is.